Welcome to the Chasing Spirituality podcast. I'm your host, Megan, and I'm so excited that you're joining me today. Each episode is full of heartfelt and expansive content that will really help you expand your consciousness and grow as a person. I created this podcast because I wanted to share my own personal experiences on my spiritual journey, but I also wanted to meet others and have them share what they've been through and how they've gotten to where they are today. If you haven't done so already, it would really mean a lot to me if you could rate and review the podcast. This really helps the podcast grow and reach more people, but it also allows me to get more guests on the show. Now on to today's topic. Hello, beautiful soul. Today we're going to be talking about intuition. And I have talked about intuition in many previous episodes, but this is definitely something that never gets old. I'm constantly getting questions about intuition, especially how to develop my intuition, or how do I know if I am intuitive? How do I know if I have intuition? And I'm going to set the record straight by letting you know right now that you are intuitive. You have intuition. And the reason why I know this without even having to speak to you or get to know you or anything like that is because everyone has intuition. There's not a single person that does not have intuition. We all have it. The thing is some of us are just more in tune with our intuition than others. So when you hear someone say the term, I am an intuitive, that's not technically correct because everyone is intuitive. That's like saying, I'm a human being, or I am comprised of organs and bones and have this meat suit, of course you do. Of course you have those things. Of course you are a human, and of course you are intuitive. Now, not everyone uses their intuition. Not everyone is in touch with their intuition. And this can easily be explained. The reason why not everyone uses their intuition is because intuition is the opposite of logical thought. It is the opposite of using our logical mind and analyzing things. And the type of society that we live in, the type of upbringing that we have all had as children, and the way we think that we're supposed to live, we are constantly using our logical mind. We are constantly analyzing everything, and we're using a different part of our brain. In fact, when we use our intuition, the prefrontal cortex of our brain actually lights up. So they've done many studies on intuition, and even though we don't know a whole lot about it, it's definitely a real thing, and science backs this up. So any spiritual teachers, anyone in the spiritual community that you follow that tries to boast that they are intuitive, or that they have this great intuition, or they have something that you don't have, is full of crap, because we all have it. Now, there may be lots of spiritual teachers out there that are very in tune with their intuition, and they may be able to teach you many tips and tricks and things like that can help you become more in tune with your own, or develop your own intuition. But just know that you have it. You are no different from any other intuitive claiming person out there. You're no different from me. You're no different from any psychic, any medium, anyone out there that has immense gifts and is super in tune with their intuition. You are no different. You just need to learn how to better tap into yours. One of the best ways to tap into your intuition is to quiet the logical mind. This is why those who typically meditate or do mindful activities and mindful practices have a better intuition than others. So when we are able to silence our thoughts and silence the analyzing and the logical mind, that's when we become into a receiving state. When we're able to receive, we're able to have intuitive downloads, or we're able to channel intuitive information. So if you are constantly overthinking things, if your mind never shuts up, if you let your thoughts control you versus you just observe them, you're not going to really pick up on the intuition as much as someone else. So some other ways that you can enhance or really tap into your own intuition is to trust it. When you get those gut feelings or those nudges that you're not really sure where it came from, you're not sure why you feel this way or why you may be drawn to something, or you just have this gut feeling that you can't really explain, try trusting those. Like, what's the worst that could happen? If you're wrong, then you're wrong. But I will say that when our intuition drops in and it is more of a intuitive thought versus like something made up in our heads, it will come so quickly. It will, whether it's just a flash of information, whether it's a visual, or whether you hear something or you just feel it in your body, or you feel some kind of a sensation or some kind of emotion. And it can come in many different ways. And it also really depends on what kind of clairs you have, because a lot of times our intuition pings our clairs. And I'll do an episode probably on the clairs in the future and kind of talk more specifically about each one. But a lot of times our intuition, when it comes in, it actually comes in through a feeling in the body. But because of the society that we live in, we're not really tuned into our bodies. We're constantly living in our heads. So a lot of times we don't feel the sensation in our bodies first, which gives our rational mind time to associate a thought with it. So one way you can develop your intuition is becoming more in tune with your body. Just trying different exercises and practices to really just get into your body. This is usually a lot of movement work, or a lot of grounding exercises and grounding meditations and techniques like this. I have many different episodes that talk about ways to get into your body, as well as many other wonderful spiritual teachers out there. If that's something that you're interested in knowing more about, just send me an email or hit me up on Instagram, and maybe I can go more into that in the future. But doing something to really get more in touch with your body is going to help your intuition, because like I mentioned, our intuition normally pings our body first. So you may get this feeling, this fluttering in your stomach, or you may get this tightness in your chest, or your hands may begin to warm or to tingle. It's just different for everybody, and it also depends on what the intuition nudge is about. For some people, it feels different every time. So that's one way that you can pick up on it. But the most effective thing you can do is just to trust it. So whenever it comes in, however it comes in, just trust that this intuition is yours and it's coming from you, and it's telling you this information for a reason. And if you're able to follow it, follow it. You can keep a journal of the things you were correct about and the things that you weren't. I will say that if you have feelings of fear and of doubt and anxiety around it, then it's probably not your intuition, especially if those thoughts were there first. Now, if the anxiety and the fear and the doubt comes after the intuitive hit, then it's possible that it still is your intuition. It's just now that your logical brain is caught up. Your logical brain is trying to scare you out of it, is trying to make you fearful. A lot of people struggle with the over-analyzing. So they'll get the intuitive feeling, but then their logical mind will kick in, or their ego will kick in and tell them that they're wrong, or that they just made it up, or it's just in their head and they're crazy. Me being one of those people. So I've been doing a lot of work on connecting with spirit. I've been doing a mediumship class, and it has really opened my eyes to seeing how much I connect with spirit before this class. But so many times I would second guess myself, and I would come up with excuses to make myself feel like I really wasn't connecting. But this is just ego. So the more that you play around with this, and the more that you trust yourself and just give yourself the benefit of the doubt, the more you'll be able to prove yourself right. And you'll be able to see, well, yeah, that was my intuition. Oh, wow, I was correct. I was right about this person that I met at work, and they really are a great person, even though they looked strange to me at first. Or, just little things like that. Start keeping up with them if you really struggle with this, if you really struggle with, your ego jumping in and telling you that you're wrong. I would just keep a little note of the things that you're correct about, because then it's going to, lift your spirits up and make you see how often you really are correct. The next thing that I really think will help you really tap into your own intuition is being observant. So this is also considered a mindful practice that is a little bit different from meditation. So if you struggle with meditation, then I encourage you to find other ways or other circumstances or other things that you can do that are just more mindful. And this means that you are making yourself be more present. You're drawing yourself to the present moment, whether this is taking a walk in nature and using all of your senses, using your sight to really focus on the clouds and the sky and the birds and whatever else it is that you see. Another idea of mindfulness is when you're in the car, you can focus on everything deeply that's going on around you. Focus on the road, on the lights, on the cars, on the people. You can focus on your body and how it feels while you're driving. You can focus on your hand on the steering wheel, on your foot as it presses on the pedal and lifts. Basically, you're just making yourself extremely present. You're drawing your attention to whatever it is that you're doing in the current moment. So this can literally be anything. You can be very mindful when you take a shower. You can be very mindful whenever you cook. But mindfulness is the key to really developing our intuition and getting to connect with it and connect with spirit and connect with our higher selves. So finding moments and opportunities where you can be very mindful is really, really going to help you tap into that intuition, and you'll be more observant. So you'll be able to tell when those nudges are really coming from your intuition and not just some kind of irrational thought. A lot of people think that intuition has to be this super loud and strong message, but most of the time they don't come in that way at all. Most of the time they are very, very subtle and simple. And when your thinking mind is calm, that is when you're going to really receive the most intuitive messages. So doing whatever you can to stop the overanalyzing and the rationalizing and just the jumping from thought to thought to thought it's key. Like, I know I've said it multiple times now, but I cannot express to you enough how important it is to be able to quiet your mind, whether that is through meditation or just meditative moments. And a little game that you can play if you really want to test your intuition. You can do this with a journal or without, but just try making little predictions. And I'm not talking about like big predictions like, are you going to get a raise next week, or is your boss going to let you have that vacation day that you asked for, but you already have multiple people scheduled off. Like, I'm talking about little bitty things that maybe it's just like a 50-50. Like, is there going to be traffic on this one road on my way home? And maybe sometimes there is and sometimes there isn't. And make that prediction. Say today, there's not going to be any traffic. And if that's what your gut is telling you, then go with it. Little things that you could do would be, what time is your kid's bus going to get home from school if you have kids. You can also do little like cause and effect, and you can journal this, or you can just kind of weigh how you feel and see what happens. So, like if I take this route home, then I'll make it home in 5 minutes less time than what I normally make home. And just like little things like that. Just try to find little things that you can do, in your everyday life. Maybe if you have a shared bathroom that you use throughout the day, and sometimes the light's on, sometimes the light's off. Before you open the door, just say the light is going to be on and see if you're right. Sometimes you're not going to be right, and that's okay. That doesn't mean that you're not intuitive. It just means that you are wrong, that, you weren't tapped in at that moment, or, the intuitive nudge just it didn't come in fast enough. And that happens. So don't beat yourself up if you're wrong. Make a big deal about all the times that you're right. Because the way that our minds work, and if your mind is anything like mine, you're going to find ways to tear yourself down. You're going to find ways to make yourself feel like you're not doing a good job and that you're not intuitive. So don't even focus on the moments that you're wrong. Only focus on the moments that you're right, and then go back and reflect on those if you are going to journal them. I encourage you to do this, especially if you struggle with believing in yourself and you struggle with believing that these encounters that you have and these moments that you have are not real, because it's going to be proof. And this helped me so much when I began my mediumship class, because I didn't think that I was connecting with spirit. I didn't, consider myself a medium. I felt called. I felt the call to be a medium, but I didn't feel like I was already connecting with spirit regularly. I will say I've had moments where I've connected with spirit, but it's normally my spirit guides, my spirit team. And anytime I would feel like I was connecting to someone else's spirit team or someone else's angels or someone else's loved ones, I would always find ways to make myself feel like I was wrong and that I was just making it up. But since I took this course, I was able to receive validation from complete strangers, things that I definitely could not know, things that I couldn't make up, and I was validated time after time after time. And most of these things I would have dismissed had I not been in a class and been in this type of situation where I could receive instant validation. I would have just thought I was making it up in my own head, because that's what intuition feels like, because it is in your head, but that doesn't mean that it isn't real. Different people have different opinions on what our intuition actually is, but the thing is we really don't know. And for me, I believe that most of the time our intuition is the language of our soul. So we're getting this information, we're sensing things from our soul. Our soul is asking us to pay attention and to reach out and tap into whatever sources that are around us so that it can help us make decisions. And your soul is obviously always going to want what's best for you. So your soul is going to help you make the best decisions. Now, this is just my opinion. I believe that our soul, if communicating with us through our intuition, can come to us in many different forms, using many of the different clairs, also having us connect to a version of our higher self. I believe that intuition, for the most part, we are communicating with a version of our highest self. But sometimes it may come from a loved one, or it may come from a spirit guide or our spirit team or our angels. And this is just what I believe. However, some people believe, and I think this could be a possibility too, is that our intuition just comes from our subconscious mind that has accumulated many experiences. So this would mean that you basically are super intelligent and very, very, very smart because of all of your life experiences. And because of that, your subconscious mind is able to give you information in a way that will help you make decisions and that will help guide you. So either one of those, that you can't go wrong, whether you believe that it's coming from your past experiences, from your subconscious mind, or whether you believe it's coming from some kind of higher power. Either way, in my opinion, you can't go wrong with listening to your intuition. So I really encourage you to just trust it and listen to it more. And the worst thing that could happen is that you're wrong. And if you're keeping up with your intuitive nudges and your feelings and how it came to you and what it felt like, and you're keeping like really good details, then that can really help you learn when your intuition is really speaking to you and what it's actually trying to say. Because in my experience, our intuition is never wrong and our intuition never misguides us, but sometimes our interpretation is wrong. And in my opinion, that's where the logical mind comes back in. Because once the logical mind kicks in and it takes the message, then it's going to turn it, twist it, change it, transform it, or make it fit whatever narrative it wants to. So with that being said, it's not necessarily that we were wrong, or it's not necessarily that our intuition misguided us or took us down the wrong path. But sometimes our interpretation of what our intuition was trying to convey to us was misguided by our logical mind. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope that you are going to start trusting yourself more and really listening to your intuition and tapping into just these wonderful gifts and abilities that we have, because you have it. You have access to it. You just have to learn to trust and really learn to tap into this gift. So let me know if you want me to go deeper into this topic, or if you have any more questions. I know this is a pretty short episode in comparison to many of my episodes, but I know that I've talked about intuition before, so I didn't want to get too repetitive. But I am always available if you have questions, and I will go more into the clairs in the future. Until next time. This is for anyone who resonates with this podcast and is interested in more spiritual content. Have you checked out the Chasing Spirituality community? Well, you can find out more on my website, chasingspirituality.com. But this community is a wonderful place for you to meet like-minded people, but also be supported in your own authentic expression as you go on your spiritual journey and you learn more about fascinating topics, as well as exercise your own spiritual and intuitive gifts. We have lives every single month. There's meditation videos and courses and tons of extra bonus content and videos. So if you're interested in more content, please go check that out. We would love to have you.